Guess what day it is? It's Take Charge Tuesday. And I'm going to do some taking charge of my own today. I'm going to work on my retreat ideas, but I am going to share a story with you regarding isolating yourself because I get a little nervous with all these stay in place orders that are going through the different states. We just implemented ours starting today. And I know that we need to stay away from each other. We need to have social distancing, but that does not mean social isolation. You have to get out there and make sure that you are at least communicating with other people. I'll tell you my story right up next. Back in 2013, I had a friend of mine who I did not realize was isolated because he had had some major surgery and he could not leave his home. We communicated through text messages. This was before we had apps that you could actually do this with, right? So you couldn't see each other. So he was able to hide a lot of stuff from me just through text messages because I wasn't seeing him and he lived 2 hours away. We used to we'd watch Netflix together and we'd text back and forth, but we didn't see each other. So I didn't see what he was going through. Months went by and I finally convinced him to meet me for coffee, not realizing that this was a huge step for him to actually leave the house and actually meet with me. And he did. It was a great couple hours. We sat and talked and everything was great. Then he went back home. We talked more. We had more conversation. He had mentioned, because I had a convertible at the time, and I mentioned to him that I wanted to go take a road trip. I wanted to drive down the coast. And he's like, wow, that would be amazing. We should do that. Again, not knowing that he was stuck in the house all the time. And I was the only person he was communicating with daily. So we planned this. I go and pick him up. We take this drive. He's kind of quiet. He's very, I can tell that he's deep in thought, but again, I'm clueless as to why. There were conversations that we had that were starting to bother me because he was making comments about not living and not, it was just not stuff that I was comfortable with. So I tried to talk to him about it a little bit more, tried to get him to open up. And he just wanted to have fun that day. He just wanted to get out and have fun, which then, now looking back, I should have seen as a huge sign. So we get back home and I drop him off. And then that night he's texting me and he's thanking me. And he finally opens up and tells me about the fact that he has been stuck in the house for almost 6 months now. Other than these small trips that he's done, but he's actually isolated himself because he has major social anxiety when he leaves the home. And for whatever reason, meeting with me was comforting. So that made, I was honored, and, we had more talks about it, but he was still getting more and more depressed. The conversations that we had, I can tell, just weren't good. But he asked me, he had another procedure that had to be done, and he asked me to take him. And at this point, I asked him, I'm like, why me? Why do you want me to take you? He says, because I don't want anybody else knowing that I'm going in for this procedure, because if it doesn't go right, I don't want my family to worry. And I said, but your family needs to be there for you. They need to support you. No, they can't. So I agree, and I take him to the doctor, and I sit through the procedure with him. And afterwards, his mental health got more and more depressive. And I got concerned, but he started pushing me away and a little bit, but I kept pushing. And then I had a situation where I got into a relationship, which wasn't good. This person got jealous of the relationship between my friend and I, and stupid me at the time cut off a little bit of communication, not knowing how bad things were with my friend, because he wasn't talking. And it at the end of the day, he was majorly depressed. He had completely isolated himself. And unfortunately, when I finally got back in touch with my friend a couple months later, it was too late. He had, I don't know if he took his own life or if he accidentally took pills twice, because his mind wasn't right, but he had attempted suicides before, and didn't tell me. So the moral of my story is, reach out to your friends. Don't completely isolate yourself. Interact. Make sure that you are doing video chats. Do not just take their word for they're okay. Look in their eyes. See what is going on. Talk to people. And if you are feeling depressed and you are feeling alone, know that you're not. There are people out there that want to help you. Reach out. I will never let that happen to me again. I will not allow someone to feel that alone again if I am in their life. All right? So reach out to me. I talk. I love to talk. I started my blog called VixTalks for a reason. So talk to me.